You've got questions, we've got answers. Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, answering the questions that new leaders ask us. Actually, it's our goal to help all leaders be more effective, productive, and confident. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Today, I'm answering the question, Kevin, how can I be a more productive leader? Are you ready? Let's get started. I've been asked this question in many different ways. The core question is this: how can I be a more productive leader? It's a great question. It's an important question. But before I answer the question, I've got to make sure we're all on the same page about productivity and what it really is. It's not just about busy, which is what often people think, right? How do I get more done is really the question, right? So productivity is results per unit time. How much am I getting done at a given amount of time? So productivity is about accomplishment and not activity. So if we've got that in line, so then the question is, how can I accomplish more in the time that I have as a leader? Because as a leader, you got a lot on your plate, right? So I could give you a very long list. I've been working on this myself for 30 years. But what I want to do today is share with you 3 ideas that might be helpful. Here's the first one. Work on your productivity habits. We all have habits that affect our productivity. Habits, by definition, are routines. They're in our subconscious mind, so we're not thinking about them. So what I'm suggesting is you need to figure out what your productivity habits are, make them conscious, and ask yourself, which of my habits are helping me? Which of my habits are hurting me in terms of my productivity, and then go to work. So an example, maybe you have a great habit of making a list or working on your plan every morning. If you have that as a habit, that's a good one. Then the question would only be about how could you polish it and make it better. Maybe you have a habit of staying up late to watch a show every night because you really like it, and then you don't get as much sleep as you need, and that's maybe not a habit that's helping you with your productivity. Now, I just picked those 2 things at random. One sort of obviously not so great, and one maybe pretty obviously pretty good. But in both cases, whether they're habits that aren't so good or are really helpful, we've got to be aware of them first before we can work on them or enhance them, okay? Second, manage interruptions. You know, in the workplace today, or in our working lives today, there are an insane amount of interruptions. And some of them are things like devices, which we can manage those interruptions by turning off notifications and that sort of thing. But what I really want to hint at right now is the idea of when your team members are coming to you and interrupting you with questions, and then you immediately respond with answers. Now, I know the reason you respond with answers is because you want to be helpful. And you want to be a helpful leader, and you want them to be productive and all that. Here's the problem. Every time that they interrupt you, they have probably interrupted themselves. And if you immediately respond to their question, even though in your own head you know you were interrupted, they're going to keep doing it, right? Why wouldn't they? They got their question answered. Now, there are times when the question is a priority, an urgent matter, and needs to be taken care of. But many times people could write those things down, ask you those questions 2 or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a week, once a week, whatever that might be, and they would be interrupted less, take less of their time. You would be interrupted less as well. The issues all still get handled, and so it's about managing our interruptions. Taking care of the needs of our team members is part of our job as a leader, for sure. But to just have it happen willy-nilly without any planning on either of our parts really doesn't help either of us. And the third thing I have for you today is to use your calendar differently, right? So the thing I would say about your calendar is you should be using it with more intention, and you should be blocking more time to work on projects, to work on things that are important to get done. Because if you don't block the important, the urgent, and the interruptions will take up all of your time. You'll get to the end of the day, you'll say, man, I was busy, I was active, but I don't know what I accomplished. So we can use our calendar in a variety of ways to help us plan our time, block our time, better with greater intention. And that's something that I would encourage you to think about doing. I know that the nature of your work as a leader might be somewhat different than mine, but I challenge you to think about how you can use your calendar and block time to work on important things, and maybe even block time for office hours, if you will, when your folks know that they can come by knowing they're not interrupting you. So those are just 3 things. I could give you a much longer list. But for today, I want to give you those 3 things because all of those 3 things not only help us, but they help our team members too. Because as we're more productive, so are they, right? It starts with us because we're the leader. Let me close with today's tweet. A more productive leader is a more effective leader, and a more productive leader likely has a more productive team. I hope you found this video valuable, that the question was useful and the answer was helpful. If you have a question, you can share it with us by putting a note in the comments or sending an email to info@kevineikenberry.com, and we will either answer it right here in the future or point you to where we've already done that. And where we would point you would be to kevineikenberry.com on our blog, where there are hundreds of posts, hundreds of videos, and thousands of posts to help you with your most pressing issues on the personal and professional level as a leader and as a professional. Hope that you'll take advantage of all those resources. And I've got one more resource for you before we go. If you especially are curious about and serious about improving your productivity, I'd encourage you to take a look at our brand new product called the Productivity Intensive. And when you do that, you can learn about what we're doing there and how we can help you in the next 45 days be more productive for the rest of your life.